welcome back to my channel. My name is Anneleen and I like to talk about books and music, so if there's anything that you like, then definitely check out my other videos, and if you like them, you can subscribe. Today I wanted to do the reading habits tag. It was created by Ariel Bisset and she is definitely one of my favorite YouTubers. She talks about books, and right now she has bought a house in Nova Scotia and is renovating it completely and showing us everything, and it's so good. So if you want to check out her channel, please definitely do. She is amazing. But yeah, let's get into it. If you don't know what a tag is, it's basically just me answering questions. And nobody tagged me, but I'm going to do it anyway. The first question is, do you have a certain place at home for reading? And the answer is this chair. This is my reading spot. Or I like to read here. Sometimes I go outside and read on the balcony. The next question, bookmark or a random piece of paper? It kind of depends. It is definitely not just any random piece of paper, not just like a receipt or something like that. I usually want something with a picture on it, something that's nice, but most of the bookmarks that I used aren't really made as bookmarks. They're just random things that I've decided are now bookmarks. Kind of in the middle there. I have some actual bookmarks, but I genuinely just prefer to use random pictures. Can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter / a certain amount of pages? I usually stop reading after a chapter. I probably will only stop reading in the middle of a chapter when my reading has been stopped by an external force. For example, when I'm in the waiting room for a doctor's appointment and it is suddenly my turn, then, you know, I always try to stop reading when a chapter ends, or to meet that goal of finishing the chapter. Do you eat or drink while reading? I don't really pay attention to it. I usually have my bottle of water with me, so I will probably be drinking, but I probably won't be eating. I find it really difficult because I need both of my hands to hold my book, because otherwise the pages will just kind of... and I don't want that. And also, I think eating and reading, there is just too much of a chance that I will ruin the book by spilling food on it. Multitasking, music or TV while reading? No, absolutely not. Please. No, I can't imagine how anyone could do that, watching a TV series and then reading a book at the same time. No, thank you. I don't mind if someone else is watching the television or if someone else is listening to music whilst I'm in the room reading, but no, I could never intentionally put on the television and then read something. No, thank you. No. One book at a time or several at once? One book at a time, definitely. If I'm reading more books at once, that is kind of a signal to me that I didn't like the first book, and so I picked up a second book with the intention of keeping on reading the first book, but I probably don't. So one book at a time. Reading at home or everywhere? I usually read at home. I also just don't really go a lot of places where I have the time to read. I don't use public transit a lot, and when I do, it's usually on the bus, and I don't really enjoy reading on the bus. I do enjoy reading on a train, so then I usually have a book with me. But for my Anne of the Island reading vlog, I actually walked out today and sat in a park so that I would have just some different footage to show you, and not just me in this chair or my other couch just reading. And I did enjoy that, so I might do that more often now. Reading out loud or silently in your head? Usually silently in my head, but sometimes I do like to read out loud just to get a feel for the book, or when I've read a passage a few times and I still don't process what's happening. But I have realized that when I do that, when I read out loud for more than just a small passage, but just like wanting to read out loud just to practice speaking as a non-native English speaker. But what I've noticed is that when I do that, my voice starts to hurt, and I believe that is because I have this very weird tendency to speak in a lower register when I'm speaking in English, as opposed to when I'm speaking in my native language, which is Dutch. And I can definitely feel that. I don't know why that is, and I haven't really found a way to stop doing this, because I can feel my throat hurting, especially when I speak for a long time. For example, when I recorded my album review of Sour, which you can watch here, then I definitely can feel my voice going away because I was just talking for so long. So I try not to read out loud actually because it hurts my throat. Do you read ahead or skip pages? I do. I don't really skip pages, but I do skip ahead. I have a very difficult time picturing things in my head visually. So when there's a lot of description, it takes a lot of energy for me to see everything and take in everything. So I will most of the time skip description and look for dialogue. If the description isn't too flowery, or if there's actual action going on, if it's like they walked to blah blah blah, you know, things like that that are kind of essential to know, then I won't skip it. But if it's just like describing a landscape, describing a room, describing a dress, things like that, I will skip it because it just takes too much energy for me to picture it in my head, and it frustrates me. Breaking the spine or keeping a book like new. I mean, I don't really intentionally break spines, but it just sort of happens and I don't mind. I feel like books are objects that are meant to be used, and I don't mind if my books look as if they have been used. And then lastly, do you write in books? If you've watched one of my reading vlogs, then you know that I do. I do write in my books. And it kind of ties in together with the thing I mentioned in the last question. I don't mind that my books look like they've been used, and I actually even really like it when my books look like they've been used, especially if they look like they've been used by me. So I do like to leave my mark, and I also wanted to talk about how that started, because when I was younger, when I was in high school, I didn't write in my books. It never had occurred to me that was a thing that I could do. But it was at university when I first started doing that, and I haven't stopped since. Some of you might know that I studied English and Dutch literature and linguistics at university, and I had to analyze a lot of books for my literature class. The first English literature class that we had to read a few books and short stories, and at the end of the semester we had to write an essay in class. So we had I believe 3 hours to write 4 essays, like 2 short ones and 2 longer ones. And one of the books, I have it here with me, that we had to read throughout the semester and then write an essay about was The Circle by Dave Eggers. And the teaching assistant that gave the course had managed to convince the higher-ups that we could bring our books to the exam, because in previous years people just had to kind of remember what happened in the book and then write an essay, which makes no sense. Like, how can you make an argument and support that argument without being able to reference specific passages and pages in the book? It makes no sense. And so because I knew I was allowed to bring my physical copy to the exam, I wrote a lot of annotations in this book. For example, just on these first few pages, I have a ton of themes and motifs, settings, things like that, which came in very useful on the exam. I'm happy that I did. Also, I read this book twice. Once just during the semester, and then the second time the day before the exam. And you can see that the first time I read this book, I wrote in it in pencil because I was still kind of like unsure, and like, oh, but this is a book and it should still be pristine and things like that. But as you can see, this is not at all pristine. And then the second time around, I wrote with just a pen. That is where it started. The way that I wrote in this book is a lot more analytical than it is in the books that I write in now. Now I just mostly underline sentences that I like, draw a border around nice passages, write a smiley, say something like, oh, poor Gilbert, things like that. Nothing too extensive. And now I'm very happy that I can read what I thought the first time I read a book. And even like just imagining that one day my children will find my books and find all of my writings in them, that just really warms my heart. Also, I love lending my books to people because that just gives them a little bit more insight in how I read the book. And I also wouldn't mind if people wrote in my books, but maybe I would ask them to use a different color pen so that I knew who wrote what. I'll put this away because I'll keep fiddling with this. So yeah, this was my reading habits book tag. Definitely check out Ariel Bisset's channel. She makes amazing videos. I'm sure if you enjoyed my content, you will also enjoy her content. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely give it a thumbs up. Check out my other videos. I have some other book content. I also have more music content. And if you'd like to support this channel and me, then definitely subscribe so that you will be notified when I upload my next video next Wednesday. Have a good day. Bye.